Some people are drawn to justice, to using the law to fight for what is right. That's what happened to former attorney, now advocate Lisa Metzer in 2006, when a life-changing case involving the anti-cancer drug Herceptin crossed her path. It tested her passion for the law in the deepest professional and personal way, and the outcome had a profound effect on many, many lives. Is this where you came when you were researching the Herceptin case?
Yes, it was. I did do some research in our library.
Why law? What was that about for you?
There were different elements that attracted me to it. Obviously, the sense of justice was just the main thing. The other thing was that I loved speaking in public. And there was also the element of fighting, for what was right.
What needed to be right?
Going to a Catholic school, we had people of all different colours there. People of colour were my friends and I grew up with them and I heard their stories too. I realised that there were many people that were not as privileged as us and there were reasons why they weren't as privileged and I wanted to undo that. Perhaps it was a bit of an idealistic approach and maybe a pie in the sky, but I always hoped that you could do that.
Lisa came from a close-knit family. It was a childhood where she felt safe and where her feelings about life and the world were beginning to form. Then, at the age of 7, her life changed.
Dad died on a Sunday night, and the next morning I remember waking up and my mum coming to me and telling me that my dad had passed away. And I remember saying to her, "What's going to happen to us now?" And she said, "No, don't worry, everything's going to be okay." And that was basically the start of a journey that I ended up on and,
What journey?
It was a tough one. It's tough losing a parent, it really is. It really is. People don't understand that until it happens to you.
Lisa grew up in a home where faith was very much present, and it was here that she turned to seek refuge from her loss.
Because I was in a Catholic school, I was in a Catholic home, we actively practiced our faith. And that made you realize that although you have your faith, it makes everything a lot easier, but it also makes everything possible. You could never think that you were on your own. You always had God by your side. And that was really my upbringing.
Lisa's mom, Gillian, was left to bring up her children alone. She started a transport company to support the family, and it's still going strong today.
Do you remember that first truck you got? That Toyota 7-ton truck.
Old Faithful,
yes.
We nicknamed it, yes. When I started the business, it was very hard. I would pick her up from school and her brother, and I would go and do deliveries, and the two of them would be in the bakkie doing their homework. They would have lunch, they'd have a sleep, and whatever had to be done until we got home, and that could have been 6, 7 o'clock in the night.
Lisa always wanted to study law and was the first in the family to do so. She got married and had a daughter, and a few years into her career took the decision to go it alone and start her own law practice.
Quite a leap for me because I was giving up the security of a salary. I was also giving up the opportunities of working in a bigger law firm. I was in all likelihood not going to act for big companies. I was always acting for the smaller individual, kind of the underdog, so to speak. My hope was, at that time, just to get work. I didn't worry about what crossed my desk, and I would work on it and I would do whatever research I needed to do the best for my clients.
So your mom did it on her own, and now you were doing it on your own.
My mom gave me the courage to take the step and do what I did and start my own business at such a young age. And then on the other hand, I had my faith as well, which made everything possible.
That was hard, but I think she had learned from me, being a single parent, she had learned where your strengths have to be and what you have to be to survive.
Lisa's marriage didn't work, and like her mom, she was forced to bring up her daughter alone. She moved her small practice to Sandton, and her work has always remained a central part of her life.
I was busy to the point that I could meet my needs. By this time, I had become a single mom. And obviously, my needs had changed because I had to support my daughter solely on my own. I had a lot of obligations to my daughter. She was young at the time. She was 3, 4 years old. And yet I had a lot of obligations to clients. I didn't realize how draining it was. You know, nobody goes to a lawyer because you're happy. You go to a lawyer because you have a problem. That, for me, was a bit of a challenge because you became the priest, the rabbi, the lawyer, the psychologist. You became this all-in-one person for your client.
And then you got a phone call.
It was in about early Feb 2006. And there was this girl on the other line. I could hear she was young. And she said to me, I need to come and see you because I have this matter that I want you to assist me with. I didn't actually realize what was about to happen to me and what path I was about to take.
Lisa Metzer was a 29-year-old attorney with a general practice. Quite unexpectedly one day, she received a phone call from Samantha Gallier, a young breast cancer sufferer who needed help to compel her medical aid to pay for a drug that could save her life. It was called Herceptin.
I was diagnosed with a very rare form of breast cancer, the most aggressive form of breast cancer. And in order to treat this breast cancer, the only type of treatment that would address the problem is an expensive drug called Herceptin. My doctors pretty much said to me, well, if you don't get it, you will die. And it wasn't an emotional statement from them. It was a simple fact.
Samantha was on a benefit plan with the medical aid that covered her oncology treatment 100%. The drug at the time was going to cost 450,000 rands for the year, and she had sought funding from her medical aid, and the medical aid had declined the funding.
At first, I felt despondent, and then it turned to anger. I'd been on medical aid for 7 years. I'd never had an operation, and I just felt it was unfair, really. And I remember Lisa always used to say that to me. She used to say, it's just unjust, it's not right.
When Samantha first came to see me, she said to me that she was taking this matter to the media. She wanted this story, her story, of suing Discovery Health, she wanted the public to know about it. Within 2 days, the story was in the newspaper.
So, of course, you've kept all the cuttings and the newspaper bits and pieces.
Yes, I have. This was the first article that was published in the Bild newspaper, and I missed the article at first because Samantha was pictured with long hair there, and I only knew her having short hair as a consequence of her chemotherapy.
What was it like for you to see such a young, beautiful woman and tell you this, and the fact that she'd had a mastectomy?
The difficulty was that we were such similar ages. I think there was about a year apart between us. But it was quite scary to think that this little picture here just was costing so much money.
In order to build her case, Lisa needed the input of medical professionals and approached leading oncologist Dr. Devon Moodley. Herceptin is only prescribed for certain types of breast cancer and only given when chemo or radiation has been completed. What's the difference between Herceptin and chemo?
We are accustomed to chemotherapy being cytotoxic therapy. So it's therapy that we give people in a drip that goes around the body and kills all rapidly dividing cells. Herceptin is one of these smart drugs. So it binds that particular cell that has that HER2 epitope, and that cell gets killed. So it's a targeted therapy. So in essence, it's actually a good, effective expensive, but very safe drug.
Word spread that Lisa had taken on Sam's case, and almost immediately a number of other breast cancer sufferers contacted her. They too needed Herceptin, and their medical aid was refusing to pay. Lisa enlisted the help of well-known advocate, now judge, Colin Lamont.
She trawled through a huge statute with millions of technical details and found a section which she believed would assist the people who were potentially dying.
One of the pressure points in the case was the fact that we had to move really quickly to get access to the treatment, because Herceptin only is effective if you take it within 6 months after finishing your chemo.
Lisa sent Discovery a letter of demand, and when they didn't agree to pay for Herceptin for her clients, she proceeded with a court application to the South Gauteng High Court.
I received a phone call from Discovery Health, and they suggested to me that we have a roundtable meeting to see if there was a chance that we could resolve everything. Discovery arrived with a whole entourage. I actually remember going into my office and giggling because it was just so funny that they had so many people. I remember somebody who was very, very senior sitting across the table from me, and he said to me, "This matter's becoming a bit out of control and we need to resolve this matter." And the only way that he could see the matter being resolved was that we, meaning myself and my clients, were to join the fight with them against the pharmaceutical company to bring the price down of the drug. Well, I mean, my immediate answer was, no, I'm sorry, we're not joining your fight.
She was very pragmatic in the way she approached things, but she always had something up her sleeve, you know. And she was very calm, but she was just so tough. I don't think she ever stopped to worry about being scared or fearful of the situation.
So at the end of the meeting, I said to him, I wasn't joining the fight with Discovery Health and the pharmaceutical company, and I was pursuing my court application on behalf of my clients because that was what we were entitled to.
Lisa, Dr. Mudley and Sam worked tirelessly to prepare the case as the court date loomed. Lisa Metzer, single mom with a small law practice, had made her mark in the sand, and there was no turning back.
I just thought, well, now I've actually put life into this. This is real. This matter's going to court. And it was a very, very big moment for me because I knew then that me, single practitioner, single mom, had taken this huge step and sued this ginormous medical aid for my client who, if she didn't have treatment, her cancer would spread. And I knew then that was what I was doing was the right thing.
From the second I met her, I felt like this was possible. She was like the security that I needed at that point in time, and just reassuring me constantly. And I never, ever, ever felt like we were going to lose. You need that to go through something like this.
Why was this a leap of faith for you?
I think it was a leap for me because here somebody had placed their faith in me. This wasn't an ordinary matter. This was a matter where she had a hope. If she had a chance of receiving the treatment called Herceptin, she had a chance of living.
In 2006, attorney Lisa Metzer was given the chance to represent a group of women suffering from various forms of breast cancer. Their oncologists had prescribed Herceptin, but their medical aid was refusing to pay. Papers had been served and a court date loomed. The case had gone public, and the pressure on Lisa was enormous.
David versus Goliath, medical aid battle.
Yes.
Did you feel like that?
Yes, I did. This I saw on the way to on the way to the office, when I knew that the story in the Star was coming out, and I thought, gosh, this is obviously me.
It was a huge leap of faith for her. You don't take on one of the major players in the South African medical insurance market and expect to get away with it. There she was, a young attorney with a couple of women who are very vulnerable, very sick, very scared, taking on this insurance giant. So it was a David and Goliath story.
Were you scared?
I was scared. I was scared because I think most lawyers have this great need to be right. And I was scared about not succeeding. There were many times when I thought, oh, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to do this. The media is phoning me, journalists phoning me, and I mean, I had no experience in this either. And I would just send up a prayer and say, please help me, please be with me, please make me say the right words, help me to say the right words, and just give me courage, because that's what I need. And, you know, I tested it often, and it worked. It did work. Those times when I did call for help, it was always there.
There, I think her faith kicked in really big time, because she had to have somebody to hang on to keep her strength going. There was lots of, not animosity, but a lot of fighting against her for doing this. She was young. That was also not in her favour, to have taken on something as big as this.
I think it was hard for her because she was a single mom, and she was really struggling to find her feet in terms of opening a new practice, which is a huge thing. And I think you need to understand opening a new practice is a really big deal for anybody.
Discovery Health came back with a counter-offer, saying they'd pay for 9 treatments of the drug as opposed to the full course of 17. Lisa was not deterred.
What Discovery was saying was that 9 weeks was just as good. But there was no basis for 9 weeks just being as good. It was half the dose. So it's basically cutting an antibiotic halfway through the course.
I mean, we were thrown a lot of curveballs, and we had to just reassess and start again. And she was always coming back with a fresh approach and finding a way to deal with the problems in a different way.
We're in Lisa's office, and we spent a fair amount of time, and there's papers everywhere. And there's this trial, and that trial, and that trial, okay? And so we had to come up with good arguments why giving these women Herceptin for a year was the bomb. And this short 9 weeks thing was actually rubbish.
And so, with the clock ticking and enormous pressure to give her clients the best possible chance of survival, Lisa and her team forced the medical aid's hand and won the case for full Herceptin cover for not one but all of her clients.
It says here, Herceptin case settles in South Africa. Discovery said it agreed to pay for the treatment in a deal struck hours before a court was due to hear a case. And it was brought by me, the lawyer for the group of patients. This is a case that sets a precedent that medical aid should not try to play doctor. I think I burst into tears out of absolute relief, because it wasn't just for my clients, it was for me as well. I was fighting a big law firm, a big medical aid, and it was just Colin and I on this side. And for me, that was such a victory. I was just so overjoyed by that, because, you know, I really thought that there is justice. Justice does work, it does happen, and it does happen.
I think that was a big thing for us. 3 little people out of nowhere, you know, putting together such a big case.
Do you think the media coverage helped win your case for you?
I think it certainly created a lot of pressure. I think we had a good case on paper insofar as application was concerned, but yes, it did create a lot of pressure.
The public were amazing. I mean, I think that the pressure from the public is really what pushed Discovery into a corner as well. you know. Some of the things that happened were groundbreaking, and that was driven by the human part of it. And that's what it's about. It's about the human spirit,
She took on a huge matter, and make no mistake, it was a huge matter. Those women were dying. We went to court as an urgent matter to save the lives of women who needed treatment immediately. And we're 7 years on, or 6 years on, and many of them are still alive, I think solely due to the medical treatment which they received in consequence of her work.
It set a precedent, but medical aids eventually changed their rules. A co-payment for Herceptin is often now required. Lisa's win, however, gave access to Herceptin and is viewed as a triumph.
Today I'm fine. I'm really super healthy, to the point my doctors don't know what to do with me. I've been alive way longer than what anybody could have hoped for. I was given 6 months, I've been alive 8 years. I've had more than 100 Herceptin treatments, and it's really proven, that the drug is the reason that I'm alive. Miracle. I think what Lisa did for me was she gave me a chance. So, I'm just very grateful.
I didn't realize how big this matter was. And what it did is it resulted in most medical aids changing their protocols and their funding for oncology treatment. But it wasn't just for breast cancer, it was for different types of cancer as well. And basically cleaned up medical aids, that's what it ended up being.
Hi. You see, Roxy's giving me a love this morning. She's so kind and loving. Look at her rubbing her beak on me. Hi, Rox. Do you want to come out?
I ended up marrying Colin, and of course we make the perfect legal team. It certainly makes for a colourful and exciting life in our household, which is wonderful. I sometimes think that I was there for a reason, for myself and for these women. I just had this sense of absolute relief that justice had been done and that the right result had been achieved. And that made me just so happy because I knew that all my hard work had paid off.